Vanessa Leone. Really enjoyed talking to Vanessa. She's out of Sydney, Australia, was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, with ADHD, with, oh my goodness, with hypermobility. And she just turned it right around. She coaches people. She helps people with movement. Are you familiar with the movement freedom? It's this kind of way of life where you incorporate movement into your body. It's relatively new. She's an advocate for it. It's very new, but she talks about how she motivates and how she helps people get to their ideal peak healthiness. And I did ask her, who won't you work with? And, the quick answer is people who want a quick fix, people who don't have realistic goals, or people say, I just want to be healthy for this, for the wedding or something, So very interesting conversation with Vanessa. And she's got a podcast, she's got a great YouTube channel, but just her way she motivates. And there was like 2 months where she couldn't walk because of her diagnosis, and her clients picked her up and she coached from the floor, and her clients love her and she does great work. She's got such great energy. Her view on discipline, she really took her time and was prepared for the question, and her answer was rich and complete and thorough. Thanks for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Have great guests like you, Vanessa, and I appreciate your time. Early in the morning there, Sydney time. What is it about puzzles that attracts you?
Puzzles. Oh, puzzles are super interesting. I always just loved like a little challenge. Like I think that's my problem in life. No, it's just fascinating. I always like to look at something really beautiful. So I like puzzles that are beautiful to look at. And so I don't know, it's just so calm being able to sort through, and you're in control of the sorting. And when you find a piece that fits, it's just like it's meant to go there. It's very relaxing.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza-Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. My mother does puzzles. It's amazing. So you're not talking about crossword or Sudoku or anything. You're talking about physical painting puzzle kind of things, pieces.
Physical pieces, physical puzzle pieces, like thousand pieces puzzles. I don't mind a crossword. I do like a crossword also, but I am totally dyslexic. So you give me a Sudoku and I'll look at you and I'll be like, nah, I'm number dyslexic. Can't deal with that. I don't know where it goes what.
Is that right? I interviewed a friend who does like puzzles, like like huge puzzles, like size of like I don't know, half a football field. I mean, he puts them up in portions and everything. I never realized puzzles was such a big thing. I mean, there's just so
Wow.
many dimensions to them. Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. No, I want to
yeah,
try to.
that's
That's insane. I've never tried one that big before. They wouldn't fit in my house, so
that's the problem. Yeah, he had to do sections of it in his garage. He said, yeah, absolutely. And it's good to train or to kind of change your brain too and do those kinds of things, isn't it?
yeah, I just I've always really enjoyed that kind of lateral thinking. It's
Mm,
just fascinating. Like as you can see, like I'm a reader.
yes.
So yeah, something that's controlled that challenges my brain, but it has to it has to be physical. So I'm a touch kind of person.
Mm.
Like if it's if it's there and I can sort through it and I'm touching it, it just keeps me immersed for hours.
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe that's a bit of the ADHD brain as well, but I could sit there, I get lost in it for hours. It's pretty wild. It's cool.
You mentioned controlled a couple times, Vanessa. What is it about the control unit? Give me an example of something like that that's uncontrolled.
Oh, well, I think that would be like it's funny because I often look at my clients like a puzzle. Like
Ah.
like they come to me and they've got, pain or they've got chronic illness or they've got, you
Hmm.
know, chaos in their life and they're like a puzzle because they'll come to me and they'll
Huh.
ask about, how can I help this pain? That's why they come to me. But it's you've got to find the pieces of their life that fit into like, okay, what could be causing this pain? I've got
Hmm.
to figure out the pieces and then you kind of have to gently put them back together, but that's chaos because someone's life
Ah.
is not controlled. Someone's life is their control. And so that's a big puzzle that I have absolutely like zero control over, but
Hmm. Hmm.
is also still fascinating, but much harder work.
Speaking of challenges, Vanessa, you've been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, with ADHD, and hypermobility. Talk to me about that. When you get diagnosed with those, I mean, it's a tough thing to tackle. How do you move on? How do you rebound?
Well, it was the Hashimoto's one was the one that was really uh like not quite sensitive, but it was really came out of the blue because I'd always looked at myself like a healthy person. And so when you then have an autoimmune disease that I just found out that I had from a routine blood test, just
Hmm.
because it was like, I have what now? And you
Hmm.
want me to take like drugs for the rest of my life? Like, hold on a
Hmm.
second. Like wind back here. How did this happen? Like, what's gone wrong? And I went as I do down a like deep research path, and it's so fascinating, and it's interesting because the natural medicine, she's a nutritionist, like a sports medicine doctor. She was like, "Look, I'll give you natural stuff. Here's the medicine," but she's like, "It's really interesting that when people present with certain autoimmune or something like that, she has this theory that the autoimmune that happens to you is something that you need to deal with specifically. So like Hashimoto's, the symptoms often come in terms of like chronic fatigue. It's essentially like telling you to slow down. And if I look back at my life, it was like, go, say yes to everything,
Hmm.
keep going, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, keep working out, keep pushing, all of that kind of stuff. So it's like, is it a message that your body actually really needs something? And when you listen to that, you can manage it pretty well. And I've had a couple of interesting flare ups, but for the most part, I I manage my fatigue, my symptoms, I suppose, way better now than I did when I was diagnosed 5 years ago, and I wouldn't even realize that I had it, to be honest. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it was an interesting lesson, but not in the way that I had expected, which is cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
The symptoms of Hashimoto, what does it explain?
So most females will get unknowing like weight gain. I didn't get the weight gain. I essentially was just like exhausted,
Hmm.
consistently just burnt out and tired, and I would push, and then all of a sudden I'd kind of like get to this point and I like would be like completely unable to do things and just lay
Hmm.
down on the couch and just burnt out and really bad brain fog and all of that kind of stuff. So it made sense when I got the diagnosis. I was like, okay, I wonder how much of this is related. And then, going further down the track, looking into the hypermobility and ADHD, I saw like quite a big link. Like a lot of females who are undiagnosed ADHD end up being or can or have a high likelihood of being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's.
Mm.
It's almost like your nervous system is just like constantly on, and because of the constant masking, however your body kind of manifests these illnesses that attack your body, it's because the ADHD came afterwards. But again, when I figured that out, I researched and dived in, and then the link with hypermobility came through. So ADHD or autism is linked to this condition called hypermobility spectrum disorder, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is way more common nowadays than it ever really was. And I work with a lot of females and men actually who have snippets of this disorder, this HSD, and it's so much more prevalent in ADHD, like 7 times more likely to have it if you're neurodivergent. And it's basically a connective tissue disorder. So my joints just,
Whoa.
they move too much. But the crazy thing about joints moving too much is it's a connective tissue disorder, and your connective tissue like quite literally holds your entire body together. And so that not only happens in my joints, but that happens internally. So gut lining in like
Whoa.
your organs, like it's crazy when you dive into the implications of it, and then you look at something like autoimmune disease. And then I also have endometriosis as well. So it's like like all of these things start kind of swimming all together. And so it just changed my lifestyle in terms of like, you get rid of as much toxic stuff out of your life as you can. I slowed my like work down as much as I, was feasibly able to. But it's just, I really took that approach for myself, but then I could also mirror that into what I saw with my clients as well, in terms of the messaging around fitness and exercise is always do more, or add this. And for a lot of the people who I trained, when I got them to do less, initially at least, they had better outcomes. And when I started doing less, I had better outcomes, and then I was able to do more. So it was just all of that that happened to me in the last 5 to 6 years, I'd say. Wow. Has like really shifted my entire outlook on how I work with people. And it's not even like what I ask them to do, but like what I help them ask of themselves, or like what I ask of myself as well. One of the flare-ups that I had, I wasn't able to walk for 2 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that one was linked. So that one was the link between my hypermobile and my Hashimoto's. And at that stage, I was taking medication, but I wasn't taking it correctly. I didn't quite realize that I I was having something that was interfering with the medication, so I wasn't absorbing it. And I dislocated my knee, and again, because I've done it quite a few times, that's the problem with hypermobility, is you have joints that move too much. And the dislocation was fine, but like a week later, my immune system attacked an old injury that I'd never been treated for at the bottom of my feet. So I'm an ex-dancer and an ex-gymnast, and I have these tears in the bottom of my feet. I had no idea they existed. And my immune system attacked them. My nervous system attacked them. My feet swelled. No one knew what was going on. And I couldn't walk for 2 months, and I had to rehab myself. And lucky, I had a really great physio who actually knew what was happening, because the doctors didn't know what was going on, who was able to help me figure it out. But I had to do this like icing, heating, these like pin pricks and like feather strokes on the bottom of my feet to desensitize them for like, I would say, like I was doing it 3 or 4 times a day.
Wow.
For like, 2 months before I was able to even like stand up and walk properly again.
During that time, Vanessa, was there a fear that you would walk again?
No, it was more of like, I'm pretty good at managing my worst case scenario kind of head. I'm generally a half glass
Empty.
full, not a
Yeah.
half glass empty kind of a person. It was more that I didn't know if the plan was going to work. And like because I treat so many people, when I have to do it for myself, it's always a little trickier. But it is like, I don't know, I felt like that because the doctors didn't know what was going on, I felt a real sense of responsibility for this flare up or whatever it was for myself. And I knew that I could get myself out of it. I don't know, I never really, apart from the initial kind of doctors trying to figure out what it was, but once I knew what it was, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to do the things, and then I'll be fine. I didn't know how long it was going to take. That initial not knowing was slightly more terrifying, because you're like, okay, my feet are swollen for no particular reason. Like, this is like, what? Okay, sure. Like, and it was pretty painful at stages. So the acute stage of it was quite painful. My partner was like, calling doctors, like, do I take her to the hospital? Like, what's going on? So yeah, once I'd spoken to the right people, it was like, yeah, okay, there's that laser focus, just do the things. And I know that I have the control and the ability to do these things. So I'm in charge. Like, I can figure this out. But yeah, it was an interesting lesson.
You said you felt responsible. Why?
Not responsible that it happened, but responsible for the outcome.
I see.
Yeah. So like, it's up to me to manage my health. It's up to me to manage myself getting better. And while things that can happen that are not my responsibility or not necessarily my fault. So, I didn't realize I was taking my medication incorrectly. The doctor didn't mention it. And that led to part of it, right? That led to part of it. But so once I got that sorted, which was a little bit outside of my control, it was my responsibility to then manage it well. Like, I, eat the good foods, sit down and do the rehab. As much as it would frustrate me, or it was like kind of painful, pricking the bottom of my soles of my feet. That was something that I could do. And it, like, I could see it working as well. Like, even if it was only the results of it would only last for like 10 or 15 minutes. But every time I would do it, it would just get a little bit longer and a little bit longer that I would feel better. So I knew it was working. So that's up to me. I'm the only one who's in charge of me getting better when it's something that I directly have to do to get better. Do you know what I mean? It's and that's important, I think, to recognize, like, as even though the situation sucks, there's always something I think that you personally can do. You can add to that situation to make it better.
Had you been seeing clients and helping them with their wellness during and before these?
Yeah. So it was that was, I think, part of the reason why I didn't go a bit mad. So I lived very close to the studio that I was working at the time, and I quite literally had some of my clients come and pick me up in the morning because I couldn't drive, and so they would pick me up on the way to the studio, and then I would sit on the floor wrapped up in my little blankets and tell my clients to do this, pick up that weight, go there, yep, off you go.
Wow.
And then one of them would drop me back off on their way home. I couldn't get to, so I had a few clients who I would travel to go see, and I couldn't see them. Some of them decided to do some online sessions with me because I'm a very hands-on person. But it was very interesting because I really saw like how much they valued just having me around as well, and that they were willing to help me out in a hard situation also.
Vanessa, what's the difference between a therapist and a coach?
I do both, but I think the difference between a therapist is that my main outcome for people is for them to feel better. So I can coach people to help them feel better, but I think when you go to a coach, you go because you have a goal in mind. Whereas a lot of my clients just want to be healthy, and that's quite vague when you think about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and even something like a goal, like I want to be fit, is pretty vague because it's very personal, whatever that means to you. And so very early on, I recognized that a lot of people will say that they have a goal, but it's not actually the goal that's driving them. It's the reason behind the goal. They have the why. They have this subconscious sometimes, but most of the time conscious reason why they're coming, because they want to change their life or they don't want to end up a certain way. And goals are fleeting for most people. You know, I want to lose weight for my wedding. Okay, great. What happens after the wedding? Like, what are you going to do now?
Eat up.
Exactly. Right. So I don't really prescribe to the whole transformation rhetoric, because I think true transformation takes much longer than 12 weeks. And I've seen people transform, but they don't transform they transform their bodies, which is quite slow, but they transform their whole way of thinking and their lifestyle. And the clients who I feel like I've had the biggest impact on, it's been a really slow burn. You know, like it'll take them 6 months and then they stop smoking, and then another 6 months and they've actually really stopped smoking, and then a year in, and then they're actually asking questions about, so why do we do this exercise instead of this exercise? Or I saw this trainer do this, and they're curious about training and outcomes and what's happening, and they'll ask the difference between different foods and, what do you think? Do you think I should have this or have that? And I can't tell anybody to do that. I can, put together an exercise program for them, but that doesn't change someone's life. Like I can just give you an exercise program right now, but that's not going to do anything for you potentially. Yeah, you have to do the work. So it's who do I need to be for someone for them to find the space in their life to create the change that they want? Because that's where I think a lot of personal trainers, most of the time I hear so much about my client's personal life. I'm not quite a psychologist. I'm definitely not qualified as a psychologist, but I hear a lot of things. And, just being there for someone is more than what a lot of people have some of the times, you know what I mean? And creating safety when someone is injured or sore or has illness or something like that, that's hard. And I know potentially in the American medical system, but in the Australian medical system too, there's a lot of medical gaslighting. There's a lot of misunderstood people. They don't feel like they're heard. They don't feel like they're seen. And when you give someone a space for them to just say, I have this thing and it sucks. And I'm like, yeah, that's hard. Tell me about that. They go, you want to know more about the hard thing? I'm like, yeah, tell me about the hard thing. I want to know about the hard thing. I want to understand why it's hard for you. We want to break it down and then we can maybe help you figure it out. But it doesn't take one session. I'm not going to sit with you for 20 minutes and give you a pill. It might take a while. But I'll be here and I'm willing to take a while to be with you to figure it out. And that approach is very different, I think, to the way that the medical system is. And it's so rewarding because like quite often, like I said, people are like, oh, thank you for listening, or thank you. No one I can't talk about this like this, or, some of them, it takes a while for us to get them out of pain, but they don't really ever believe that they can. And so when they start to get those instances when they're not in pain anymore, like that's huge for people. Like that makes a huge difference. And that's really cool to see. Like that's something that I really value. And that's I think the difference between a coach and a movement therapist, because it's very hard to explain to people, but it's something that I would love to see more of in the industry.
Somebody once told me, I don't know what you'll think of this, but a therapist looks back, a coach looks forward.
Yeah, for sure. I ask a lot of questions about their life and their past, so yes. I like that a lot.
What kind of person will you not work with, Vanessa?
Someone who isn't willing to be self-aware. Someone who wants a quick fix. Because I don't know what those are. But the self-aware, yeah, no, I can't do that. Sometimes people get better quickly, but it's not because it's a quick fix.
Right.
If that makes sense. But I think the self-awareness piece is big, because when you ask questions about people's past and you ask questions about people's behaviors, you have to be willing to actually tell me the truth. And if you're not facing the truth for yourself, I'm not getting the right answers. So I'm actually not able to help you if I don't get the right answers. So there is an element of that self-awareness, but it's also that piece of your coach is your mirror, and they're going to highlight things that you don't want to see, or maybe you've tucked away for a little while, and I'll point them out, not in a nasty way, but in a way that, like I said, if you're not doing the things that help yourself out, I can't do anything for you. So, if we're aware that there's a problem and we together put a plan that you have to do X, Y, Z. Well, if you're only doing X and you're not doing Y and Z, your progress is going to be super slow or not at all. And I'm okay to help you because sometimes I understand that life makes it very difficult to do X, Y, and Z, but only to a certain point. When I know that life isn't actually getting in the way, it's you getting in the way, I'm going to just really gently point that out and kind of like tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, did you do the thing? Oh, I didn't do the thing. Okay. Why didn't you do the thing? Was it something else or was it you? And that's hard to face. It's hard for me to face. My partner does it for me. I do it for him. And yeah, you don't want to admit when you know you haven't done the thing, it's, you don't want to admit that. But when you start to admit that, it's so much more liberating, and it makes you face it more, and then it's easier to face it, and you start to get rid of the shame spiral. Shame spirals are hard, and they're so they're really negative to healing in a lot of ways. But that's who if people who are just straight out, yeah, I did it, but you actually haven't. I've got nothing for you, It just,
I have this problem I want it fixed right now.
yeah.
Let me slap my fingers. Okay, we're all set now. You talk about movement freedom. What do you mean by this kind of concept, this initiative of yours?
So it's, can you do the things that you want to do? Yeah, essentially, is that in a nutshell. If someone said to you, hey, let's go for a 5K hike or a 10K hike, does that make you scared? Or does that make you question if you're able to? Or is that something like, yeah, that sounds fun, let's go do that. I want to test that out. If someone says, let's, go for a swim, go for a bike ride, let's paint the house, I don't know, like, can you do the thing? Like, or do you automatically know that, okay, yeah, I can paint the house, but I'm not going to be able to move for a week after that because I'm going to be so sore. It's so outside of what I usually do. And I have to be really careful of my back, or I have to be really cautious of this or that or whatever it is. And yes, I understand people have extenuating circumstances. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about movement freedom is your ability to just be able to do things and not have to question if you can. And we have created a neat little box for ourselves where we don't really go do things like that anymore. We don't put ourselves in situations where we can, like, oh yeah, let's just go for a 10K hike or a bike ride or a swim or a whatever, because we're not in the natural world. But it's sad because, like, people will go away on holiday and you can't do these fun things just because your body won't let you, or you're in pain, or and that's really sad. So movement freedom is people come to me so that they can do the things that they really want to do, and I want to get them there. I just this week actually, one of my clients, we have this run in Sydney called City to Surf. It's pretty iconic. You run all like around the harbour of Sydney and you end up in Bondi Beach. It's beautiful. It's 14K run. And this client of mine, she had an accident and had spinal surgery and quite a bit of damage to her left leg, nerve damage. And for quite a few years there, the surgeon was like, essentially, you're not going to run. They're like, you're not going to get back to it. This isn't something that you're able to do. And she kind of searched through a few PTs and she kind of accidentally found me. And I looked at her and I'm like, but you walk? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, so you can run? She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, the hard part's done. You had to walk again. Like, you literally learned to walk again. we can run. She's like, yeah, but how? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. Like, we'll do it. And she ran her first big race again this weekend.
Wow.
And like, that's huge. And so she said to me when I saw her this week, she's like, I think I can become a runner again. I'm like, you are a runner again. Like, you just did it. Like, you're a runner again. And that's so cool, you know, like, that's amazing.
I always wonder when doctors say you'll never be able to do this again or give you some kind of ultimatum that it's just a way to make you fight back. I don't know. Maybe it's optimism. Because I hear this not often, but I do hear it. You know, you'll never be able to, whatever it may be, run or, you know, bench 100 pounds or whatever it may be. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little reverse psychology. Beats me, but I enjoy it. Has technology helped this whole movement of yours?
Yes and no. Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, I wear a health tracker, you know, so
Yeah, me too.
yes, you got your Aura ring there. Yeah. Uh, for me personally, that really helps obviously like manage my Hashimoto symptoms, and
Hmm.
it's quite fascinating the trends and the behaviors that you find that you know can make a positive impact in your life. So yes, I would say, but there's you know there's always the dark side of something that's good, because you know people have tendencies to overdo it, and then they can overanalyze every aspect of their life. So when it comes to technologies like that, I am very careful who I recommend them to in my clients, because sometimes they don't need that much information, and it's way too much information. But it's funny because I kind of sit this precipice of like tech is good and tech is bad, and I'll use one piece of tech that I think is really bad, which is shoes.
Really?
Yeah, I think shoes are terrible for most of us, to be fair.
Hey, Joey Pinz here. Want to take your podcast experience to the next level? I'm excited to invite you to become a YouTube member. It's the absolute best way to support the channel and enhance your connection. Join our amazing community and unlock the incredible perks, custom loyalty badges, exclusive emojis, and priority comment replies. Your voice will always stand out. Be the first to watch new videos with early access, receive special membership shoutouts, and get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and updates. Dive into content available only to our members, special videos, deep dives, and insider perspectives. Engage directly with me. Suggest podcast topics you want to hear, and even get personalized video shoutouts. Hit the join button right now and become part of something special. Let's build this amazing community together. I can't wait to welcome you as a new member. Join the Joey Pinz family today. Oh, you don't mean running shoes. You mean actual like
running shoes, dress shoes. I mean,
any
shoes, most shoes in general.
Really?
The shape of them in particular is my main issue with them. Not necessarily that we need cushioning or something like that. It's but the shape of them kind of like smushes our feet, like our toes together. And so there's this growing movement now. I don't know if you heard of it, a barefoot shoe or barefoot movement. And initially, when it first came out, I was skeptical of it. Like I'm not the skeptic, but I'm always skeptical of these things. And like everything else that comes out, I dig in and I do my research. And this time I was like, no, okay, the tech that comes out in these shoes can make you run faster, but it comes at a cost, because if your body isn't ready to actually do the work, you're just going to hurt yourself.
Interesting.
Dress shoes, high heel shoes are like the worst thing for our feet. And your feet are the first thing that come into contact with the ground. And I had this really great coach mentor of mine when I was a baby trainer, as I call it. And millimeters in one part of your body translates to centimeters as you go up the chain. And so if you're restricting movement by millimeters and millimeters every day in your feet, well, that has a knock-on effect further up the chain. And I actually have a client who's like a perfect example of this. He's a heart surgeon. And when I first met him, he couldn't get up and down his stairs very well. He was like adamant that he needed to have a knee replacement. And I was like, why do you need to have a knee replacement? And we did our first session and I kind of got him moving a little bit better. And he's like, no one's really done this kind of movement with me before. I feel better. Like, what have you done? And I'm like, we just mobilized a little bit. Like, you're really stiff, guy. Like, he was so stiff, so stiff. Anyway, so second session, I go in there and I had a bit of a deeper dive, and his feet are like so stiff and so stuck together and so scrunched up. I've never seen anyone with feet like this before. And I'm like, it's no wonder that your knees are sore. Like, it's honestly like it's crazy to me that you're not more sore. You've done pretty well to just manage that and only have a little bit of knee soreness. And now he's the guy who does the work. Like, I'll say, okay, you're going to do this thing. And he's like, I'm on it. I'm going to do the thing. And I think we've trained now, it'll be nearly a year. I think it was probably like 8 months, maybe 8 to 9 months. The guy's playing golf again. He's like running up and down his stairs. There's no knee surgery that's going to need to happen here. But now he's looking at his feet and going, I can't believe that I let myself like push my feet into these like shoes and bits and pieces. And he trains barefoot with me, and I make him stand on his grass bare feet. And but we literally have to like almost physically like pull his joints apart. They're so stuck together. And that's freedom. You know what I mean? Like, that's movement freedom. And he's experiencing that in real time. And he's what is he? Late 50s, early 60s? 60s, early 60s. And his whole body is changing. And he's been a fit guy his entire life, mind you. He's lifted weights. He's done the right things. And now he's experiencing more movement freedom. And that's cool, right? I love that. So tech is useful, but then you see all these like ancient practices coming back into it, like ancient sound healing and meditation, and that's been around for thousands of years. But we lost the ability to ask our bodies what it needs because we're so reliant on tech and convenience. So it is really a very fine line between, yes, the tech is great, it's very useful, but what's happening in here? Like, what's happening in my body? Do I actually know? Like, can I ask myself the questions? And we have such deep-seated wisdom in our body, but we just don't know how to access it. Yeah.
Vanessa, I heard you talk about once you were kind of diagnosed with these things, you went through this cleanse, you threw away your nonstick pans, and you went to organic, and you made this really movement yourself. Do you do this same exercise with clients as well?
Only if they want to. It's a process, it's hard to change your life.
Yeah.
And some people are all in, and that's great. I'm not one of those people. Well, I'm all in once I've made the decision, but I have to know first. There's a certain amount of awareness that comes into it. And yeah, well, it's not control. It's just like, I want to know that I'm on the right path. And I like to understand things. I think that's probably more what it is. Like, I want to have side A and side B, and I want to look at both and be like, what are you telling me? And I want to make a good decision from there, a good decision for me. And, chucking out all the pans and stuff like that, there's a lot of evidence to show that now that is potentially very useful if you're suffering. But it's, doing that for other people, like I'm never going to tell someone to do things. I'm going to suggest. Like, I don't have the answers. I have no answers, but I might have some solutions because the answer for everybody is different, or the solution for people is really different. And some people aren't ready to get away with all of those other things, organic, or get rid of their non-stick pans, or do that. And you have to make that decision, because the time in your life that you're going to change the most is when you make the decision, not when someone else makes it for you. Because you have to take ownership over it. And if you don't have ownership over it, you're always going to revert back to whatever else you were doing. So I don't tell anybody to do anything. I live my life the way that I do because I think that if I lead, then if people want to follow that way, that I'm walking the walk. I don't just say the things. I do the things that I talk about, because I know they work, and they work for me, and it feels good. And if you want to give it a go, I've seen it work for other people. The evidence is here. You make the decision, right? Like, this is your decision to make, but I'm not going to force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. And that's what coaching really, in my opinion, should be about. It's working with the person about where they're at. Like, some people, they're not ready to get rid of the biscuits and the comfort food. And when you get rid of someone's safety blanket, there's a whole lot of coping mechanisms there that are gone. And I don't have another I have lots of coping mechanisms for you if you want them, but you have to choose one. You can't just rip someone's safety blanket away from them without consequences, basically. And I've seen it happen, and I've done it. I've told clients to do things and watched the negative cascade happen. So I don't do that. I don't do that anymore. And everything that I do now is from learning either from myself or from past interactions. Like, I've been doing this for nearly 20 years, and I'm only 37. So I feel like it's been a lifetime. And I'm always so fascinated by when someone throws up a no. I'm like, why? Because I'm just curious, because, this is the paradox of self-help, or, for fitness. People come to a trainer to change their life, but how many people actually do it? And so they pay someone money to give them exercises. But we know that only a handful of people will actually really get better or make the change or whatever, they have the outcome that they want to. Because it's not about the coach. It's like people use the coach as like a Band-Aid to their problems, rather than someone who can help them show their problems to them and be like, okay, I see these things. There's 8 things we can help you with. What one do we want to start with? Well, they either go, let's do all of them. They don't really want to do all of them. They think they want to do all of them. And then they fail in a few weeks, because it's really, really hard to change your life and do everything all at once. But even then, like, when you're given the choice of making change, my way of doing things is make the easiest change. Don't do the hardest thing. Make the easiest one, because there's less barriers, and then you create success. And you know what stops people from doing things? That people don't want to do things that they're bad at. Nobody wants to do something that they're bad at. So don't do the thing that you're bad at. Do the thing that you're good at and create success first, because now competency creates confidence. Confidence has a cascading effect. Okay, now I feel more confident to actually make other changes in my life. And that's big. But if I just tell you to do something and you fail at it, well, number one, you think it's you. But like, number one, coaches, you can't tell anybody to do anything. Like, they have to want to do it. But you haven't failed because you didn't choose to do it. You have to take ownership over the changes that you want to create in your life. And if you say you want to do something and change it, but then you're not doing the behaviors, I will call you out on it, but I'm not going to judge you for them. I'm going to ask you why and how we can continue to help you make those changes, because at the end of the day, I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. Like, who am I to judge you for, for that? Like, that's not fair.
Mm.
And I think judgment is so rife in the fitness industry. Like, I know for sure that I've had clients not come back because they think that they've failed because they haven't done what we've suggested or done what we've talked about, and the shame keeps them away. And every
Wow.
time that I feel like I've failed a client, I'm like, okay, what did I do that contributed to that, and what did they do that contributed to
Mm.
that, and what lessons do I take from that? Because it's super important. Like, those are super important lessons. And I can't help everybody, but when you're creating change, it's telling people what to do rarely works.
Right. Yeah, because then they get defensive. When I'm in the tech industry and I'm part of these peer groups and I facilitate many, so there's these younger entrepreneurs that come up and they want advice. I said, look, I'm not smart enough to give advice, but here's a situation that was similar to yours. This is what I did, and this is what I learned from it. Take what you will, so you got to kind of lead by example. And I see you doing that. It's very, very fulfilling. Vanessa, has there been anything in the last month or so, 6 weeks, that you changed your mind on?
Great question. I don't know if I've changed my mind on things, but I'm a questioner.
Hmm.
So I had a guest on my podcast talk about his method of helping people with his injuries, and it's fascinating. But he said something about hypermobility that really didn't, like, it was a big dissonance for me.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, and I sat with it for like weeks, and I've been thinking about it for weeks and weeks, and I'm like, how could what he said be true? And if is what he said true, how does that fit in with, like, this paradigm that I've created about what I think is going on here? Because the hypermobility scene has not a lot of research. There's a lot of theories. It's just, so if you work towards a certain theory, it can really change how you approach working with clients with issues. And what he said, it just really, like, confused me, but in a good way, like in a way that makes me question what I know and what I see and what I do. And I think that you don't necessarily always need to change your mind, but if you're not questioning why you do things,
Mm.
then like then it's, you never know if you're going to change your mind, kind of thing. Like, and I've changed my mind about, like, a lot of interesting things along the lines when I've, like, started coaching, but it's only because I question, because changing your mind is important for growth. But the questioning is the growth. It's not the mind change. Do you know what I mean? It's the process of, okay, this is this piece of information that doesn't work with me. I could either just forget about it and put it in the box over there and never go back to it ever again, or I could sit with it and go, why does that frustrate me? Why does that question everything that I know about? And how does that fit in with what I do and what I know? And can I make the two work together, or are they completely opposite? And that process is hard. But I ultimately find it kind of fun in a way, because it's like I don't actually know, like we don't actually know. And I think that when you accept how much you don't know, you're okay with changing your mind a bit more, because I'm like, I don't know the answer to this question, but I'll see if I can help. Like, I'm a best intentions kind of person, and
Me too.
yeah, and I think that's way more authentic than if I said that I knew how to help you and I knew what was going on, and then something happened, because then all of a sudden you'll have an identity crisis if this piece of information challenges your whole belief system or your whole everything system. And I've worked with trainers who have that dissonance, and they're just very argumentative. Because I coach coaches as well. And funnily enough, yeah, I actually did a course, a 3-hour course for a bunch of coaches recently. And I remember after this course, I said to the manager, I'm like, this was the most open bunch of coaches that I've had in a really long time, like really long time. Like, they asked really good questions. I was so curious, because often I have gone into rooms of trainers where they just try to pick apart everything that I'm saying. Oh, that's wrong. Okay, tell me why it's wrong. Oh, because blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, I can see why you think that, but it's actually the research, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes they're just so argumentative. And I'm like, don't you just want to understand the body? Like, why are you arguing with me? I'm not arguing with you. I'm giving you a perspective here. And I just found it so fascinating, but it's because it really challenges their belief system in what they do. And that's where people get argumentative. But if you accept that you don't know, then any piece of new information, you're like, huh, cool. That's a new thing. And okay, yeah, I can see how that changes things. Let's change. Like, yeah.
I'm willing to change on any given subject, given new evidence. And I find, Vanessa, as I get older, I have more questions than I have answers. So I started my business in the 90s, and I was working way too hard and not paying attention to my physical self at all. I'm at the doctor. She tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I'd gained all this terrible, terrible weight. And she tells me if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So my daughter was just born, scared the life out of me. So I'm, driving home upset with myself. I can abuse myself all I want, but I have this family now. So I spent the next 6-7 months, lost about 120 pounds and kept it off. You can't look at it as a finishing line, right? These are lifelong changes. You mentioned before the wedding, I want to lose the weight for the wedding, and then who knows what happens there, right? I wanted life changes here. So when I tell people this story, Vanessa, I always, what's your secret? How'd you lose the weight? What'd you do? And I always say discipline, right? I have focus, motivation, willpower. How does discipline play a role in your life, Vanessa?
Well, I thought about this coming into today, and I don't know anyone who hasn't got discipline, but I also don't know many people who don't have issues with discipline, if that makes sense, because we all have discipline for something. And most of the people who I work with have a lot of discipline around work and not a lot of discipline around looking after themselves. For myself, I'll use myself. Understanding ADHD in my head was purely transformational, because I really started to understand my impulses. So I used to think that I wasn't very disciplined because I'm very impulsive. But it was really not very true about myself, because I can be very disciplined. Like, if I need to get something done, it will get done like 10 times faster than anyone else can do it. You know what I mean? Like, I will do it, and I will get it done. Like, so the difference for me is that if you want it badly enough, you'll find a way generally. So when I was at university, the very first year, the lecturer said to us, they were like, there's 350 of you here. 2 of you are going to get our most coveted intern placements in your third year. 2 of you. And I sat there in that lecture and I'm like, I'm going to get that. And I did get that. But
wow.
I am, very wild and not very, well, it was useful because it made me see what I didn't want to do in life. But so I always knew that I had discipline. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today. But it's crazy that you can be disciplined and impulsive at the same time.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
isn't that interesting?
Yes.
But it's about how do you then think about your discipline, and how do you create rules and standards for living your life? Because that's where discipline plays out. So recently for me, and this is, my partner is probably the most disciplined person that I've met in my life.
Really?
Yeah, he's amazing, especially when it comes to like food and sticking to his path, like his goals. And I like, it's super admirable. And so he's taught me a lot. Because like I said, I have a lot of discipline for something that I really want. But as soon as it's outside of that realm, then the discipline just fades. So how do you develop discipline? I thought about this. I think number one, you have to really want the thing. You have to, if you don't really want the thing, developing discipline around it is, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's much harder. So, you know, if someone said to me that I needed to like become an arts and crafts person, I'd be like, well, okay, you need to do 10 minutes of arts and crafts every day and then build it up to 30 minutes. Like, I would find that hard, right? And I put exercise in this bucket of discipline. People look at exercise like it's a chore. So imagine someone says to you, you need to, I don't know what your worst chore is. Mine's taking out the rubbish, the garbage. I hate it. It's dirty. It stinks. It's gross. So imagine someone says to you, you've got to take out the garbage for at least 30 minutes a day for the rest of your life. Like, that sounds horrible. It sounds nasty. I don't want to do that. Like, developing discipline around that is already a huge barrier. So it's about figuring out how to dismantle those barriers and also change your thinking about it. So for my health goals, I've become very disciplined around my sleep. Like I have and again, I'm going to take the deep dive. Like I've got like quite narrow sinus passages, and I was mouth breathing while I was sleeping, and it was really affecting my sleep. I was, changing when I worked as a PT. I'd have different times that I'd get to bed and different wake times, and so I had to solidify my schedule. Like, I'm a morning trainer. That's it. I'm a morning trainer. I don't do evening sessions because it messes with me. Like, it's too much. And I go to bed at the same time, even on the weekend. And I wake up around the same time, even on the weekend. Like, on the weekend, I'll give myself a little bit longer of a sleep just because I like to stay in bed. But on the mornings, even if I don't have a client first up, I'll get up at the same time, because the discipline, once you're in a disciplined routine, it's easier to stay in the routine. As soon as you take the routine away, like, it's gone now. Like, it's messed up. But people don't necessarily have positive routines. And a routine means that you don't have to think about it. It means that you don't have to exert willpower. Discipline is not willpower. They're separate. They're separate things, right? And if you're using willpower to exert discipline for everything that you do in life and you feel like you're failing, it's no wonder, because willpower is not discipline. Discipline is creating, I've thought about this a lot, creating a set of rules, standards, and goals for your life. So what are the standards of your life? You know, like how do you want to live your life? Do you want to be healthy, engaged, connected? Do you want to be like what? How do you like what is you like? What does your life look like? And what does a standard day look like? So it's your standards. And then what are your rules around your life? You know, boundaries. I suppose people are very big on boundaries now, but do you set these for yourself? Do you have any? Like, a rule for me is that I will exercise at least, like, I train 5 days a week, but I move every day. And that's a given. If I don't move every day, I'm either sick or probably mentally like unwell that day. And I know that if I don't move, there's consequences. But the consequences are that I'm irritable and I feel gross and just not as much of a good person to be around. And I want to be a good person to be around. So, you know, my rules are that I go and do something that help me be that. And my rules are that I turn off my phone and I leave it in another room for the night, so I don't feel the need to look at it. Like I have to physically distance myself to things that break my discipline. My phone is like one of those ones that so hard to be disciplined around. So those things are really important. No coffee after 12 or 1 o'clock, because I know it messes with my sleep. So it's easy. That's an easy rule. Like, just don't do that. One of the newer ones that I was really resistant to, well, not really resistant to, but had a lot of trouble with, but the trouble I was creating it in my mind, was getting enough fiber for the day. So like having enough fiber. And it's like, now that I've stuck to it like a lot more post my surgery last year, my recovery, and it's like I have the data now too. It's like my recovery, I think I've had 3 days in like red, which is bad recovery, since the start of the year.
Wow.
Like when I measured my health initially with my Hashimoto's, I was getting a red day at least once a week. And so I know that it works. And so then when you know that something's working, it's easier to be disciplined. Do you know what I mean? But if you're just stabbing blindly at things and like you haven't thought about a plan, then you can't be disciplined, because you don't actually have a plan. You're just telling yourself that you're undisciplined, but you don't actually know what you're trying to be disciplined for. So a lot of people try to add exercise in, right? Okay, what have you taken out to fit that? Because you can't just like adding something into your life is really hard when you have all of these other things that you need to think about. You've got family, you've got a business, podcast. Like, how do you just give yourself another hour of the day to go and train, which requires effort, mind you? So as soon as something requires effort, even just to get there and then to do the thing, there's even more willpower that you need to exert. I'm sorry. You're asking, like, you're setting yourself up for challenges. So how do I create a plan in my life that I am now someone who exercises? So what does that look like in my day? Right? So it's like that shift of like, okay, in my life, I'm going to set this standard. I'm someone who exercises. So where do I do that? It's not just, pulling it blindly out of a hat. It's like I have to organize it, because if it's not in the diary, then it's not going to get done, Like I've got to put it in there. I've got to make the rule I will do this class at this time every week unless I'm quite sick or whatever it might be. And I will wake up at the same time every day, even if I don't have a class, because if I don't have a class, then now I can go for a walk, or
Hmm.
I can make myself a cooked breakfast because I have time, and I can enjoy myself. But when we don't have a plan, we feel like we lack discipline because, we're just aimlessly kind of going about it, I think. I hope that resonates
Yeah, it certainly does. I appreciate you thinking about this for a while. Yeah, you put some, but has your as a child, had your household been one of discipline? I mean, where does discipline play a role in your life typically?
That's a good question. So I grew up. Well, my family's Italian, so I'm first
Yes,
generation.
I could tell.
So
Great last name.
yeah, that helps. Thank you. So there was a lot of rules. There were always a lot of rules,
Yes.
and there was a lot of discipline in
Mm.
terms of you have to do chores, you have to do this, and I think while you're a kid, you hate it, but it makes so much sense because it does shape your
Mm.
ability to do things that you don't want to do necessarily
Mm.
that make your life better. And my family were disciplined in the fact that we had family dinner together, we made dinner, and that sometimes included me as a teenager or a child making dinner.
Mm.
Because mum and dad had to work, so someone had to make dinner, so you better make dinner.
Right.
And I think having those rules and standards as a kid, it does make a difference. You know what I mean? Like that discipline, knowing that you contribute to a household in a positive way, even if you don't see it that way. You can look back at it in your 30s and your 40s and go, that's what that was. So
Mm.
and it's an interesting perspective because again, research shows that kids who do chores have an easier life. Like they're able to do hard things in life because it makes sense. You develop a brain that understands that if I have this section of time that is doing something hard, I get the reward of like finishing that task, which is a great. Yep, I finished that. But then I have more space for things that feel good in my
Mm.
life. And I mean, I was lucky, like my family was into movement. Like mum and dad used to play squash together. So
Mm.
they would take my sister and I to the squash courts and we would just watch them play a game, or we'd be in the court next to them attempting to play squash. But mum put me in sport when I was a kid, like literally a baby. And that was always something that we had to do. Like we had to do some kind of movement.
Mm.
That wasn't a negotiable. It was we play sport or we do movement in this house. And mum and dad were lucky because my sister and I weren't very argumentative about that. My sister is probably less movement inclined than me, but like she found her space and she played, I don't know if you know Australian rules football.
Of course.
Yeah. She played AFL in her high school years, and my dad was, like the runner for the team. So he'd like run onto the pitch and like hand people their water bottles and stuff like that.
Nice.
So everybody got involved, and my dad went to all my dance concerts and poor man, all of that kind of stuff as well. So like they were disciplined about those things for us as well. I think that's the difference as well. I think that's important. Like if someone's telling you to be disciplined, but they're not disciplined themselves, it like that's
Mm.
a really big dissonance. You're like, well, why? Like you're not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
why would I do it if you're not doing it? But they
Stop
did it.
smoking while they're smoking. Yeah.
For sure, 100%. But like they would do the hard things, they would do the chores, they would do the
Yeah.
movement, they would come and to our things. That's discipline, you know, and when you look at it in that lens, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's cool.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. Very cool. I love what you're doing, Vanessa. I love how you're helping people, and you had these roadblocks and you didn't stop at it. You kept going, and you had the people drive you to the coaching. I mean, it's a trait of a remarkable person. I love it, and I love your inspiration. Anybody watching or listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Oh, cool. Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. The YouTube channel I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to put what I call movement therapy classes up for people.
Yes.
So you can check me out on my YouTube. My YouTube channel is Vanessa Leone Movement Therapist. The one thing I would love to say, though, is that I want people to know that movement can feel good, that exercise and training can feel good. Like you don't have to train hard, particularly if you don't like it, to get a benefit. And like just movement is therapy, you know, it's put on a good song, and that's how I would love to help people. Movement is therapy in all sense of the words. And my mission is to help people find their movement that's therapy for them. Like, I think that's cool.
Yeah, we have to move people. There's a lot of sedentary lifestyle, especially here in the States, jobs and watching television and things. We have to, our body wants to move. And when we move, boy, it really rewards us. So I share in that. And I love the theme. Vanessa, when and if I'm in Sydney, I'll let you know. We'll get a cup of coffee. Well, a cup of tea anyway.
Tea, coffee, I love it all.
Very good. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources, and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.